sometimes I feel like the thing that people need the most is like, especially today, because in 100 years ago, sun went down, there's nothing to do, so you went to sleep, right? Maybe you felt like flipping a light on and reading a book, but you probably didn't, so I feel like people just need permission to be okay with just going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's an okay thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I know that for me, like, if I have that conversation with myself, it drastically improves my willingness to just turn things off and go to bed. Because you're missing something. You're always missing something now. There's always something to miss, right? Whether it be a sporting event, a show that everybody else watches, a conversation that you're having with your friends because everyone's texting all at once, right? Like, that's just constantly going on. And so you almost have to give yourself permission to say, hey, I'm going to have a much better next, 15 to 16 hours if I just go to bed right now. And it's okay, right? It's okay to hit pause and go to sleep. But, yeah. Welcome to the Well-ish Podcast, sponsored by Iowa Specialty Hospital, where real life meets better health. We're your hosts. I'm Derek.
I'm Anthony.
Let's dive in.
So, welcome into another episode of the Well-ish Podcast. We are super excited to be here with you guys today. My name's Anthony.
I'm Derek.
And today's episode is going to be about sleep.
About sleep.
Yeah. I mean, I felt like we switched sides there, so I had to
I
take
forgot to start the podcast.
That was good,
funny.
though. I like the little preamble.
Yeah.
So now they kind of have an idea of what we're talking about but they're going to think that it was a part of the conversation. But really, it wasn't. So a little bit of like, oh, where'd that happen?
Yeah.
It didn't.
It didn't. That's funny. Yeah. Well, yeah, we are. This is, I think, and again, we've had a couple of these now recently where we've gotten to just have just you and me chat about whatever, all this stuff, right? About wellness, health, the things we're interested in. And it's always just a blast. So,
yeah.
Thanks for sitting down again.
Yeah, let's get started, man. I'm excited.
So I think let's just start by talking. So sleep is one of those, I feel like, wellness topics that most people understand are really important, right? There's some people who do a better job of getting sleep, others who might not. I think one of the things that I always like to do is I like to look at professional athletes. Okay. And the reason that I like to look at professional athletes from a wellness and health perspective is because they are doing, most of them, as much as humanly possible to prepare their body for competition, right? Because the person they're going against is going to be doing just as much as humanly possible to prepare their body for competition, right? There's not a world in which your average person who likes to run the occasional 5K could step on the track and go toe to toe with Cole Hawker. Like, that's not happening, right? Like, those athletes are and he's a professional runner. But like, those athletes are insane. They go so fast, right? Because they've prepared their body for that, right? And then there's, they're just fast people. But at the same time, you don't get to be the top level peak professional in that setting in any sport unless you're doing things that most people don't. And so in the realm of sleep, it's such an important piece for recovery, and it's so important in helping your body systems work correctly, right? Forget like that next step of like they're working perfectly, just working correctly, right? Controlling your blood sugar, helping control your hormones, which are huge in attitude and your mental clarity and your digestion. Sleep is so important for all of that. And that's before we even get to just like fatigue and feeling tired, right? All of those things are happening too. So a pro athlete is doing all of that. Is they're sleeping as much as they can to make sure their body is as repaired as possible. Because there's
Mhm.
nothing you can do externally that's going to replace sleep, right? Your body is the best mechanic it has for itself. So you have to give the mechanics a chance to work, and that's only happening during sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Also with that, I mean, it's not just your physical body either. Like it's also your mental
Mhm.
mind, right? Like, I mean, the whole point of sleep is actually for that brain to relax and to like process and to like file things away and all these things that I'm not going to get into because I'm definitely not a neuroscientist or anything to that extent. But without sleep, I mean, yeah, our body wouldn't be able to recover, to utilize the things that we've learned, to put it away so that way we do have a quality memory, right? I mean, most of us have probably experienced a night of poor sleep and not been able to really cognitively, recall things that they usually are
Yeah.
used to or get through the day, as easy as
Mhm.
they could. So, I mean, sleep is super important. And going to your point earlier about how, you know, we're on kind of on a circadian rhythm of sleep. Um, a lot of times, I actually recently heard this where when you think of sleep and the people that can think that they can work well with little sleep, whether it's 4 to 6 hours or less, whatever the case is, and they can get through and get by, and you don't need to sleep until later on, wherever the case is.
Mhm.
If you think of it in an evolution perspective, if it was something that we actually did not need, that our bodies did not require, it probably would have evolved to us sleeping less,
Mhm.
right? But it's never changed. If
Yeah.
in the entirety of human kind, we have always slept. We've
Mhm.
always needed that sleep. And yes, it does revolve around that circadian rhythm time where the sun comes up, sun goes down type of thing. And we can get more into that. But I think the point I'm trying to make there is it is incredibly important. And that the reason that our body has not tried to evolve or adapt to less sleep is because of that importance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's kinda cool to think about. I feel like um, that idea of someone who can function on less sleep,
Hmm.
my response to that is always like, "Man, how awesome could you be?" Right? Like, that's what I always think of.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we know that the human body requires somewhere between 7 and 9 to more hours of sleep, right? Some people a little bit more.
Sure.
Um, and so those who just, like, go around, I'm like, "Yeah, I just do 4 hours. I just do 4 hours."
Mhm.
What if you started getting 8? What
Yeah.
if?
Or even
Or
6
even
or,
6 or
like, up
7,
by 1, yeah.
right? Consistently. Oh my.
It's it's just it's funny. I mean, when I think of sleep, I also think of, like, the tribes that it can get you into, once again, I'm gonna bring up social media, but, like,
Mm,
you can fall into the bucket of your algorithm just telling you how much more sleep you need, and you keep following it. But
mhm.
it's the same thing with, like, nutrition, with physical activity, with whatever you end up getting into.
Yeah.
Oftentimes in all those other areas the word evolution gets brought up,
Mm,
right? So, from a nutrition perspective, the paleo diet. Well, we evolved eating the paleo diet and then keto. Well, we evolved eating,
mm,
all these things, right?
sure.
But you don't hear that in the sleep perspective.
Yeah.
You do even in the, like I said, the strength training stuff, like you
Sure.
use your body the way it's supposed to be used, which is important, use it the way it's supposed to be used. But you just don't hear that evolution side of things when you're
Yeah.
getting blasted with sleep supplements and sleep protocols and all these things. And I think that it just becomes more overwhelming. And if you just take a step back, look at why we do it, and
Mhm.
maybe some better practice, hopefully that we talk about here today
Mhm.
on how to do it,
Yeah.
it can take you um, to be to perform better, to just be a better emotionally stable, more emotionally
Mhm.
stable, be a better partner, whatever the case is. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
I'm
think
more passionate about this than I thought. Jeez.
yeah, you should be. No, you should be. I think you should be. I think it's one of those things that as health professionals, yeah, it's not something that we can intervene on
Mm,
as easily,
yeah.
right? I can sit here as a dietitian and say, "Hey, these are the foods that I think we should be eating. Here's the timing of some of these nutrients that I think we should be getting. What are your challenges around that? Okay, you don't like this food. Let's try this one. You don't like to cook. Okay, we can work through a lot of those challenges together,
Mm.
right? And then if you look at any other discipline of wellness or care or medicine in that case, there's there's pharmacological things we can do. We can bring medicines in. We can do all these interventions.
Yeah.
Sleep at its core, I can't. There's nothing I can that you have to do it, right? And so I think that's where it's hard for us to talk about it as much, and so I don't feel like it gets talked about enough
Mhm.
in these real settings because like we're like, oh yeah, get more sleep. When did you get more sleep? Go, yeah, make sure you get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, we can talk about some strategies and stuff like that, but you sleep. It's got to be you. You got to do these strategies. You got to do these things, and so I think that's kind of maybe where that topic tends to lose its steam in healthcare settings
Sure.
specifically. But yeah, passion, dude, should be passionate about it. Sleep's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I take it seriously, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, something I mean, I know that I just do well with a pretty consistent routine, and I think routine is also something important. So,
Yeah.
one thing that really helped me kind of get into it was listening to this guy, and then I ended up reading his book. His name's Matthew Walker.
Mm,
He wrote the book Why We Sleep, and I think for anyone who maybe enjoys this conversation or wants to look more in depth on it, that'd be a good starting point is to think
nice.
about him. Because a lot of the stuff that I will probably speak to or talk about that we'll talk about, I think stemmed from me learning from him, and then also, manipulating it to what fits my life and my schedule,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of this, like the stuff that we're going to talk about here, might not fit into your life, might not fit into your routine, might not be an everyday thing. But
Hmm.
what can you do to kind of, use those tools
Yeah.
to pick and choose and see what works well for you and stick to, because that's super important is sticking to it.
Yeah.
We all try things, we all can try things, but how well are we at just being consistent, and
Yeah.
ultimately that's what's gonna do you well over the long term.
Absolutely. I think let's talk about how many hours of sleep
Okay.
people are, supposed to get, right? I do quotes because everybody's a little bit different. That's
Mhm.
it's not this one size fits all thing, but um I was recently looking at just cuz I don't know. I like to occasionally pull up the chart that the CDC has posted and National Sleep Foundation and all those groups that have done this research around sleep,
Mhm.
right? And it's always so interesting when I look at it because I'll start with kids. So newborns, obviously, they kind of just they sleep. They don't need told to sleep. They just do it because there's really no other option for them, right? They have to get that sleep. And then they they grow up. They become toddlers. They become kid and it's like still by the time they're getting to like elementary school age, still 12 hours of sleep is part of the recommended range,
Mhm.
right? Some kids might not need all of that, but it's like 10, I want to say it's like 10 to 12 hours of sleep
Mhm.
for elementary school age kids, which
Yep.
is that's crazy, right?
Mhm.
Um luckily I think that it's nice for parents and things like that to get a couple, an hour or two in the evenings without the kids, right? So put them to bed.
Sure.
But I think that like that one's shocking to me
Yeah.
how much sleep kids need.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's like a stair step down, right? So, 10 to 12 there. And then once you're a teen, I think it's 8 to 10.
Mhm.
And then as you are more in that adult category, it's 7 to 9 with, a few asterisks here and there.
Yeah.
And when you really look into those statistics, like you were talking about,
Mhm.
and then also the CDC shows like what they do some studies as to like how much kids are actually getting or adults.
Yeah.
It's almost heartbreaking
Yeah.
how little sleep they get,
Yeah.
and then you don't even, you're just talking about quantity. You're not even talking about quality at that point either, right? And we'll get to that point. But yeah, so much more sleep as you're growing, which makes sense. Your body's expanding,
Yes.
your brain is expanding.
Dude, I saw the statistics you're talking about,
Mhm,
I was looking at the, like, high school age
mm,
kids, and it was somewhere in the realm of, like 70% of kids that age don't meet the minimum requirement of sleep. So minimum of 8, like you said, 8 hours,
Yeah.
8 to 10. And if we're being honest, right, 10's probably more
Yeah, I mean,
where they should lean, especially if you're someone who's super active, involved, an athlete, someone who uses their brain every day. Oh wait, that's
mhm.
everybody. And so like it's crazy. And I think back to me in high school, right? I know I didn't get enough sleep. I know it. I know I wasn't going to bed on time,
Mm,
right? And I just think it's wild because yeah, I was super involved. So I was up early
yeah.
and then I was staying up late. It was
What
like,
time were you going to bed? Can you recall, like, on average?
oh
Let's say
yeah,
high school.
yeah. I mean, I was probably I'm a reader, so I would always stay up late reading, and
Okay.
I would be up until midnight, 1 o'clock,
Really?
fairly often reading a book
Crazy.
because I just couldn't put it down,
Yeah.
right? And more than once, I woke up and I'd fallen asleep while reading, right? And I think that's one aspect. It's like, oh man, oh, why that like that's a piece of it that I kind of looking back, it's like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because that's such an important time of growth, and I feel like I turned out pretty good, but at the same time, it's like, man, I like that would have been good for my health. It would have been really good for my health to get a little more sleep at that time, and
Yeah.
instead of getting 5 or 6 hours, 3 or 4 nights a week, you know, keep making that maybe like not a thing at all, right? So,
Yeah, I think it's a sticky wicket. I do think 5 to 6 is pretty low at that age, but
mhm,
let's say you were still getting, like, 6.5 to 7.5, you're just below that threshold a couple nights a week, but you're reading, like, one thing that, again, I've pulled a lot from this, the book that I read and people that I listened to, but, the stuff you do right before you fall asleep is the stuff that you are filing away first, if you can think of it from that standpoint, right? So
ooh,
when you're
yeah,
reading and, like, that's what I would consider a good habit
mhm,
pre-sleep. Before you fall asleep, you're actually retaining that and that's going into memory and it's actually being locked in there a little bit better, which makes a lot of
mm,
sense when I like just knowing you just because of the things you recall and the things that you're really passionate about. And, from a reading standpoint, I can just imagine the books you were reading at that point in time.
interesting,
So right, where it becomes a sticky wicket is yes, your sleep is becoming lower, but as far as what you're doing prior to it, you're doing things that are still benefiting your health,
mhm,
it's your brain health,
sure,
right? But ultimately, you can't just be going consistently the 6 hours of sleep that you were
yeah,
talking about, which you
yeah,
weren't. And I think that's the nuance that I really want to bring to this conversation is there are good things we can be doing, and there are things, especially with kids and stuff, like
mhm,
parents that have young kids that you just can't follow a lot of this stuff. But don't let that cause you more stress or think
mhm,
that you're doing something bad.
sure,
Just see what we can do to kind of, update that. So,
yeah,
anyway, we've divulged a little bit. Hours. Well, now that you're an adult,
yeah,
7 to 9.
7 to 9,
Yeah.
7 to
Um,
9. Do you get that much every night?
I would, yes, pretty consistently. So
You're an early riser.
I'm an early riser. I'm in bed for 7.5 hours pretty consistently, I would say. And the reason I say it in that sort of like framework is because what we know is being in bed versus asleep is much different. So even though I'm in bed for 7.5 hours,
Mhm,
I'm probably averaging about 6 hours, 45 minutes to about 7:15.
sure,
I'm not getting the full 7.5.
mhm,
And the average person is probably usually about 30 minutes of that is like deducted. But just because I'm not saying I'm above average, but I when I go to bed, bed's bed. It's
mhm,
always been that way for me. Like
mhm,
I'll read for sometimes up to 10 minutes, maybe 15 max, but I'm like fighting myself not to fall asleep
mhm,
and then I'm out. And so I sleep
sure,
pretty well.
yeah,
But yeah, so I do get
okay,
I
yeah,
would say I'm in that range. What about
mhm,
yourself?
yeah, I would say most nights, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, honestly, yeah, I feel like I'm usually kind of, in bed somewhere between 9:30 and 10, and then awake between 6 and 6:30
Yeah.
is super normal for me,
Yeah.
so,
I guess I didn't put times on mine. Yeah,
yeah,
mine about the same. So I'm usually in bed around 9,
mhm,
and I'm up around 4:30.
mhm,
So yeah,
yeah. No, I think it's something that really focused on, and yeah, I don't know, it's one of those habits that just, has gotten better and better
sure.
over the years, and
Yep.
so Now I now I know what it feels like to feel rested and feel that energy and feel ready to go for the day, and
Mm,
tough to go back, man. It's
mhm.
tough to go back.
Yeah. You really
So,
notice it when you don't get it, right?
yeah.
And we're talking about this also, I mean, as 2 adults that
Mhm.
are childless,
Yeah,
right? So
neither of
we
us have
have that
kids.
flexibility and ability to at least build that routine now and,
Mhm.
in the future, whatever comes up, we're hopefully able to adapt.
Hopefully maintain that.
So quantity, we got that down.
Yeah,
Let's talk about routines.
sure.
Do you do you have like a bedtime or wake up routine?
Wake up more so
Okay.
than bed.
What's that look like?
So I feel like so interestingly enough, I feel like one of the things that helps me a lot in the mornings
Mhm.
is, and this is going to sound kind of funny, but it helps me a lot to have a definitive statement of like before I go to sleep. I try and tell myself it's important that you get up tomorrow on time because of this.
Mhm.
Right? It doesn't have to be anything important. Like usually it's because I need to make coffee. That's usually what my statement is, if I'm being honest. It's important that you get up, by I usually say like 6:15 or 6:20 so you can make coffee. And that's it.
Yeah.
And it helps a ton. And so I'll hit that moment of like, 6 o'clock, my alarm's going off. It's like, all right, time to get up. Perfect. If I haven't had that little conversation with myself about the importance of waking up, it's so easy to just roll back over, right? But I've gotten enough sleep. It's just that like early morning, like, whoa, all right, time to get moving, right? And just
Yeah.
kind of shaking that off. And so that's a really important part of my routine is actually that before I go to sleep, having that statement to myself of it's important that you wake up on time and here's why.
Mhm.
And then
Simple why too, by the way,
simple
which
why,
is yeah.
super simple, not
Yeah.
something stressful, not something that's like you got to get up so you can go get your. I'm not a morning workout guy, right?
Mhm.
I've tried, and I just don't. It doesn't make me feel good. I don't like it.
Mhm.
I like when I can work out at like 7:45 or eight
Mhm.
o'clock,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
love a weekend morning workout.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
Yep.
But during the week it doesn't work for me, so I don't try and add something like that in, right? Because that would be a big ask, or it's not. Let's get up at 6:15 so we can do this and then that and then no, it's simple. And then I really try hard not to get on my phone in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I've kept it out in in the kitchen sometimes. Sometimes I bring it back with me. It tends to find its way back there to my room a little more often than not,
Sure.
but I feel like I have done a decent job of kind of breaking that cycle of using it
Yeah.
when I'm back there. I play a little chess sometimes, but that's about all I'll do on it now. And so I try not to get on my phone. I leave all that stuff in my room
Mm.
and I go, I make coffee. Um, I'll take care of the dog, get all that stuff, water, food, stuff like that. So that's kind of
Yeah.
my morning routine. And then I'll make breakfast. So I'm very much get up and I'm just kind of doing little tasks, getting my day
Mhm.
going. And I think my breakfast ritual too is something that has really like been good for me in
Sure.
the mornings because
Yeah.
it's just
Kinda solidified that routine a
yeah,
little bit. Yeah.
yeah, it's something productive, but it's just making breakfast and I love breakfast. So at the end
Mhm.
of it, I get this fun reward of eating breakfast because I like breakfast. And so, yeah, that's kind of my morning routine. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's really solidified itself and it is a good setup for my day because I get to just kind of think through my day that's coming up while I'm just doing my little stuff in the kitchen. And
Yeah.
so, what about you?
First off, a couple things. One, this is a kind of a side tangent.
Hmm.
Conor McGregor, I once listened to him talk about how when he wakes up, he does like a little body scan. He rolls out his wrist, rolls out his feet,
Hmm,
rolls out his legs a little bit.
I like that.
And the reason I bring that up is because I kind of want to add a disclaimer. One of the biggest or most oftentimes people acquire or have a back issue, like a back spasm,
Mm,
a back strain, whatever the case is actually getting out of bed in the morning.
mm,
So when you were talking that through, I'm like, oh man, yeah. So good thing you don't just jump out of bed because that usually is what it is the people that just jump out of bed or like pop up too quick
ooh,
is
that's like the
can
number one
can
cause
cause
of
that.
straining your back.
Yeah, or like
What?
little back tweaks and
All
things.
right. So,
Isn't that
hey,
interesting?
get up slow,
Well,
folks. Take
what
your
so what I was
time.
gonna get to is like a good thing is I think it is good to maybe take, a minute or two just to feel yourself
Yeah.
wake up and then, kind of roll out of bed
Mm,
or roll versus just like popping up. So,
sure.
anyway, secondly, yeah, I think that's a great routine. And it sounds like you're just working your way through it a little bit
Mhm,
and you keep adding things here and there and
mhm,
finding ways to kind of like, I think it's important to solidify points of your morning that kind of get you, continuing to move forward, right? So, like your coffee, and now that you
mhm,
have your breakfast that's consistent, human nature is to
mhm.
be consistent, to have
Yeah.
those habits, right? Now, hopefully they're better than not. So,
I
I think
think
that's a good morning routine.
yeah, and I think too, one of the things is since I've started kind of operating this way, and I feel like it's been probably for, I don't know, a year that I feel
Mhm.
like we've kind of been to the or almost a year that I feel like it's been like this consistent kind of thing. Maybe a little less. It's been building toward it for a while, but is I don't really use my phone at all until 7:30, 7:45 is probably the first time I'll get on my phone
Nice.
unless, we're talking about, "Hey, what's the weather today?"
Sure.
But usually I like to flip on the weather just on TV, so it's like that's on the background while I'm listening to the weather on
Yeah.
TV. I feel like such an adult listening to the weather on television.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't get on my phone
Mhm.
at all.
Mhm.
And and sometimes I don't even really get on it until it's like time to, I need like I use it to log in to
Go to work.
work, right? Like so I don't even get on it until that point. So it's like an hour and a half, hour 45 of my day at the beginning that's just not I don't even I'm not on my phone, right?
Yeah, I think that's important. And maybe we should actually start with those before we just got into our our own routines. Screen time is obviously a big
Mhm.
thing. And I think that's why I started with, bedtime routines and morning routines.
Sure.
How can we wind down and also, progressively wake ourselves up
Mhm.
for so many reasons that we don't need to get into, but it just helps with that sleep routine, right?
Sure.
So, like a good wind down routine honestly doesn't need to be anything crazy.
Mm-mm.
And what I mean by a wind down routine is just like how can you progressively like tell your body and your mind that bedtime is approaching versus just looking at a clock,
Mm.
right? So an hour before bed, and these are some like pretty average
Ideas,
tips.
examples, yeah.
Yeah, right. Is turn your thermostat down. So
Hmm.
right now we're in winter.
Mhm.
It's some of us probably keep most of our houses at like 70 to 72 degrees.
Sure.
Can we turn that down to somewhere between 66 and 68? Because naturally your body is cooling itself off to go into that sleep mode,
Mhm.
and a lot of us just keep that at too high. So how do we help our bodies um, bring down that body
Yeah.
temperature?
And if you got a smart thermostat, that's easy.
Yeah, just set it
Just
up.
set the routine and it'll just
Yeah,
do it for you.
and with that, if you have smart light bulbs, can you also have your lights just dim down
Mm.
at that point? Maybe turn off a couple and just dim most of them. Because another thing is light exposure through your
Mhm.
eyes, right? How can you bring down your light exposure? Because when you have light, your body thinks that it's daytime, or
Mhm.
your mind thinks that it's daytime, and it's kind of tricking it. And that's why some of us potentially have some sleep problems because
Yeah.
we have that light. I'm not too sold on the whole red light, blue lights type of stuff. We can
Mm.
get into that, but just in general, just bring down the light,
Mhm.
right? Dim it down. And again, this is just like an hour and a half before bed. So in that way, you're just kind of working. You're not even doing anything actually. It's just things around you. Your environment is allowing your body to say, "Hey, I'm approaching bedtime.
Mhm.
This is what we're doing, right?" And then one last important thing is eating, the eating window.
Mhm.
That would actually, if you can, try and push that out to at least 90 minutes or more before bedtime.
Yeah.
So 90 minutes, you're done eating. 60 minutes, things are starting to turn down as far as
Mhm.
sounds, light, temperature in the household. And then everything you do from there on is kind of built to, you know, how your morning routine is, right?
Mhm.
Personally, I am go get ready for bed type of a
Mhm.
guy, right? So that involves just setting out my clothes for the next day, brushing my teeth, washing my face, all the boring stuff, and then getting into bed and starting to read my book,
Mhm.
and that is basically the last hour of my night, almost every night.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you'll notice that there was no, like, phone time in bed in that routine, and I think that's really important,
Yeah,
right? That's such a huge challenge,
yeah,
right? I've struggled with that in the past, and I've gotten a lot better, but, man, even doing any kind of scrolling on a social media
mm.
platform, it stimulates your brain so much.
Mhm.
Just it turns everything on. Even if you're feeling more and more tired, right? If you're getting to the point where your eyes are literally being forced closed by your body because you're so exhausted,
Yeah.
we probably waited too long to close our eyes, right? Like you want to maybe beat that by a few minutes if you can. And so if you're the last things that you're trying to do is like being stimulated by all these flashing lights and bright colors and all these things that come along with social media, and that's tough, right?
Mhm.
Like that's really hard. Like I think about I don't know. I feel like the quality of your sleep in that sense, like how long it's going to take your body to calm down from that. It's going to take a while. It's going to take at least an hour, maybe a two, before your body can kind of recover from those like, whoa, what was going on?
Yep.
And then, because like you said, some of the first things that your brain tries to file away and make sense of is the thing that you were doing last.
Yeah.
And so if that's what you were doing last, your brain's like, whoa, it was spinning, trying to figure out what was going on. And then all of a sudden you're 2 hours into your night of sleep of 7 hours. And so now we got 5 hours
Yep.
of quality sleep. And you can see where that goes, right? And then it makes it hard for you to wake up in the morning. And so then the next day we're struggling through it a little bit. We were running late, so we didn't grab the kind of breakfast we wanted to have. It's a circle, man.
Mhm.
It all relates. It all relates.
For
And I
sure.
think that sleep is so key. It's so, so, so key to making good food decisions, being willing to go exercise, and then all of the things we already listed around your mental clarity and your emotional stability and all that stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's huge.
I'm a big fan of phones outside of the bedroom. I've been personally doing that for 6 years now, and it's been a kind of a game changer.
Mm,
And then on top of that, yeah, consumption, like, what are you consuming prior to bed? A big thing is actually, so many children probably had bedtime stories, right? That was a big
mm,
thing.
yeah.
So what are you consuming before bed? Is it like a true crime podcast that's keeping you up, or
Yeah,
Criminal
seriously.
Minds or something, right? Or is it kinda like a some sort of a calming, yeah, fictional
Hmm.
book?
Hmm.
Personally, I don't try. I've actually been bad about this recently now that I say this out loud, but I used to always do fiction at night, just because stories kinda helped me stay asleep longer versus I would sometimes my brain would just be a little bit too wired if I was trying to, like, read a nonfiction book or learn about
Hmm.
someone else, like a real life story, or, like, learn about some topic, whatever the case is. Again, you have to figure out what works well for you, but what are you consuming before you fall asleep?
Hmm.
Is it actually bringing you down, or is it, even though you're getting tired and sleepy like you're talking about, you're wired in the back, like under the hood?
Hmm.
So that's a
100%.
really good point. Yeah.
100%. It's a challenge to
Hmm.
do these things, to create these routines, and I think, like I said kind of in the opening there, you almost have to give yourself permission to change what you're doing, right? It's like telling yourself like it's okay for me not to be on my phone right now.
Mm.
It's okay for me to, you know, not consume something that is like super exciting and pulls me in and draws me in. It's okay. Like you can choose something easy,
Yeah.
right? You can choose something like I don't know, like a night just a nice story. If you wanted to listen to something, a nice story.
Yep.
You can read something that you've read before,
Hmm.
right? Like that's an option. Reread a book. That's okay. Do that.
Yeah.
One of your favorite books, awesome. It's probably going to be easier to put down if you've already read that book, right?
Yeah.
Um and I just think giving yourself permission to go to bed 15 minutes earlier, allow yourself to say, "Hey, this is a good thing. Like these are
Yep.
good things for my body." And yeah, I might miss a text from somebody because I'm going to bed earlier than I was,
Hmm.
but I'll see it in the morning, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that comes down to honestly just setting like expectations and guide rails.
Mhm.
Because I with me going to bed so early and being an early riser, I always miss text. There's
Mm.
so many mornings that I wake up and there's a text here and
Mhm.
there, and oftentimes, like especially if I send a text after, I don't know, 7:30 p.m., I'll add a little disclaimer like, "Hey, I'm about to turn my phone over, or go upstairs because
Mhm.
I leave my phone downstairs even. Like, I probably won't come back down and respond. I'll get back to you when I can."
Mhm.
Like, yeah, how do you kind of allow yourself to be able to do that? You aren't going to let people down,
Mhm.
and I think that's another point to bring up is the fear of missing out on stuff, but
Oh, yeah.
also the fear of missing maybe something big that happened,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
And I think that is a super valid feeling, especially for parents, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, it goes to, I mean, I'm going on a little bit of a rabbit hole here,
Sure.
but it goes to like the point of trying to think that you can control everything or like
Mm.
it's a sense of control with that device. And it's not. And we talked
Yeah.
briefly about that with Rachel Fletcher
Yeah.
a little bit. So if you want to go back and look at that episode, you can. I think it was episode 9, if I remember correctly. Anyway,
Sounds about right.
yeah. So my point there is, yeah, what are you consuming before bed? And then it's really guided me to the point of what is at your bedside table that's waiting for you when you wake up too.
Mhm.
So another thing that, and the reason I bring that up is another common phrase that is used is anticipatory anxiety. So some research shows that having our phones by our bed actually causes worse sleep quality because we are anticipating waking up, rolling over, and looking what's happened on our phone.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So that's where like that gap of the phone either being across the room or the gap, like having that gap or something out of the phone out of the room that's a barrier
Yeah.
can kind of put that off a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So we don't think about that a lot. But I mean, a lot of us have probably woken up at, you know, 1, 2 a.m. for
Mhm.
multiple nights in a row and wondered why. Well, a couple of reasons that you keep waking up at the same time and noticing is because you are either looking at your phone for the time or you
Mhm.
have a clock. So maybe we get rid of the clocks and the phone. I know we
Mhm.
all need alarms, but there's so many fancy clocks and alarms out there now that you can be off, or away
Mhm.
from your bed,
Sure.
right? But if you don't have those things to be able to tell what the time is, knowing that you have an alarm later
Mhm.
on, maybe you aren't waking up at the same time all the time
Mhm.
anymore or as often.
Yeah.
So it's funny how many little things there are in sleep that we allow to disrupt our sleep pattern, right? And it's before bed, it's after we wake, and it's within our sleep. And what can we just start maybe reducing? Because a
Yeah.
lot of times I think people think we can add stuff.
Yeah.
Do we need to have a supplement that helps us fall asleep? And then we also then need a stimulant to wake us back up in the morning
Yeah.
with
That's
our
interesting.
coffee.
This is interesting. So I feel like it's almost opposite of, and it's funny because we're talking about sleep and that's happening at night,
Mhm.
right? For most of us. I know there's some shift workers out there,
Oh, yeah, shift work's a
but
whole
that's
different
that's
conversation.
that's so tough. More
Yeah,
power to you people doing that,
yeah.
but man, tough. But sleep is usually happening at night. And so these interventions, it's almost like they're different, right? I want you to take away heat. I want you to remove distractions. I want you to remove things that stimulate, right?
Mhm.
And then during the day, when I'm thinking about how we sustainably build nutrition patterns and things like that, it's never about taking things away. It's always about adding things to
Mm.
me. Because if we start trying to take things away, all of a sudden I've taken stuff away from you. Right. And so this doesn't work as well. But if we've given things or added things that then eventually replace what we were doing before, it's a very positive connotation.
Yeah.
Right. But I would argue that it's around sleep, it's flipped. Because if you start telling people, I want you to add this, I want you to add this, I want you to add this and add that, that's stressful, right?
Mhm.
Whereas around food, that's not like it's just not. It's not as stressful, right? I want you to add some broccoli. Okay, I can do that. I don't have to take away my mashed potatoes. Nope. Nope. Just add that. Okay, cool. Make sure you eat it. All right, sounds good. But sleep, it's the other way around. Start taking things away. You're like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I don't need all that. It can be simple.
Yeah, it can be and it should be, right? I
Mhm.
mean, sleep is one of the most basic things that we can do. I mean, your body is literally in a
Yeah.
state of paralysis.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, like that idea, that thought process you just talked through is at first I was thinking, gosh, but that's not the way that's talked about out there. Like it's often talked about what can you be adding? Like how are you adding your red light therapy before bed? Are you adding your L-theanine?
Yeah.
Are you adding like all these things when a lot of those things are really just picking up pennies over dollars,
Mm.
right? Like you're go back to the basics. Go back to the basics. Don't step over all these like bigger bills and just to
Yeah.
pick up some pennies. Like what are you focusing on?
Yeah.
What is the foundation of your sleep routine? Is it those supplements that sure might make you fall asleep? Well, maybe you do have sleep better, but you aren't getting enough. It's not going to
Mhm.
help that if you aren't getting enough. But you're waking up still at 2 a.m. because the melatonin's worn off. Well, then therefore your quality is disrupted there already. You're messing with your natural melatonin levels, all these things, right? So the point there is, yeah, simplify, and
Mhm.
that's how you finished what you were thinking
Mhm.
through there. And 100% when it comes to sleep, how can you just simplify?
Nothing that we do is gonna beat an extra 30 minutes of sleep every night.
Yeah.
Nothing that we do in terms of recovery, in terms of, honestly, nutrition,
Mhm.
exercise, like, we need all of those things.
Yeah.
We need I think about nutrition, exercise, sleep as kind of that's the three-headed. I don't wanna call it a monster because it's not, it's a good thing, but that's all 3 points of that triangle, right? And we need all 3 to support us. But, man, 30 more minutes of sleep, that's gonna be a big deal over time.
Yeah.
You put it over the course of a week, it's 3.5 more hours. 3.5 more hours of sleep that you got over the course of that week, that's huge.
And couple of things now. So one, I think it's a good time to point out that as we age too, so we mentioned how when you're younger you need more sleep, and then as you become more of an adult you need a little bit less, but it's still that 7 to 9 range, right?
Mhm,
As we get older, it does actually become increasingly more challenging to get quality sleep. And with that, that is maybe where if you have a decent routine, we do look at starting or adding some supplements that assist with that.
mhm,
But I do just want to put that in there because I don't want someone that's maybe, in their late 40s that's a female or 50s, 60s that's a male. And they're like, well, my sleep's just awful. Like these guys don't know what they're talking about. I mean, one, we might not know what we're talking about. But two, that is a natural thing. And, there are still
Yeah.
options we can look at.
Mhm.
I just wanna make sure we add that point though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sleep is just not the same for everyone at the same times of their
Mhm,
life. What I was gonna add with that is starting earlier. Like if you're in your 20s and you're just, you know, you're you're on that hamster wheel and you're grinding and
mhm,
trust me, I get the grind, but you aren't getting good sleep, like that will come back and bite you later on.
mhm.
And so the sooner you can start doing these things, the better, and the
Yeah,
sooner you can start getting into that routine, hopefully the better that it is when the quality does diminish
yeah.
a little bit.
Invest in your sleep now, man.
Yeah.
No matter where you are in life in terms of how,
Yeah.
your age, just just start working on that sleep now.
Yeah.
Whether you're 15 or 85, right? Like, there's no reason you can't start working on trying to make it just a little bit better. Not asking for huge wholesale changes. Again, just try and add 30 minutes. See if you can't
Yeah.
add 30 minutes a night, and it's going to make you feel better.
Mhm.
I almost promise that. Like, it's gonna make you feel better just to consistently get that extra sleep each night.
Last thing I kinda wanna add is after you made that point as the sooner the better, make that investment. It's come to my mind that we've mentioned that for so many different areas. We've mentioned that for nutrition. We've mentioned that
Mhm.
from physical activity. We
Mhm.
mentioned that even for mental health, right?
Yeah.
And now we're adding sleep. The sooner you start, the better. And I think that is where, we get a little overwhelmed. And what I want to double click on is that morning routine that we are talking about for you, where it's evolved, especially over
Mhm.
the last year,
Mhm.
right? I think choosing one thing to focus on is super important, one area. Like, you can add little things here and there, but your focus should be on, let's say, let's use sleep for an example, which I would
Mhm.
probably argue should be number one before you worry about like nutrition and physical activity and all
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm.
Because it will, like you to your point earlier, it will help all of that. I just don't want the average person, including myself, I guess, because I
Mhm.
I was getting overwhelmed as you're talking about that, to be too overwhelmed with all these things we got to be investing in right now,
Mhm.
right? Because this is life. There's going to be things that, push us off our path. There's going to be things that keep us on it, and we're going to add things, take things away, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Find something to focus on,
Mm.
figure out that routine that we keep harping on, and then see what you can like move to fill that bucket,
Yeah.
right? And more often than not, all those things overlap a little bit and they'll fill each other's bucket slightly. especially with sleep,
I think
you're simplifying.
yeah, and this
Yeah.
comes all the way back to episode 1. So if you haven't watched episode 1 yet, give it a look.
Yeah.
Where we talk about little habits,
Mhm.
little changes, and when you hear the word habit, it's easy to forget that a habit is something that we do unconsciously,
Mm.
right? It's supposed to be unconscious. That's the point of a habit, right? It's not something that you should have to think about every single day.
Yeah.
It can take a lot of time to get to that point, and so be patient with it, but just start investing in those good habits. Just start, right? Invest in that extra 30 minutes of sleep, whatever that looks like. Work on it. As soon as you start to feel really comfortable and confident doing that, all right, add something in the nutrition realm, right? Add a piece of fruit every day, right? Make it small, make it attainable, and just do it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be hard. You're going to stumble. You're going to miss a day, but eventually it'll become a habit. You'll start buying fruit at the grocery store every time you go. It'll make its way onto your grocery list without even thinking about it. Yep, I got to do eggs, fruit, milk. Oh, well, there was fruit. Perfect. And it's stacking those little things.
Yeah. I guess just to round out that, what we're talking about here is think of it from this perspective. And this is, I think, examples usually help us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you start focusing on your sleep. And by focusing on your sleep, you have your temperature going down an hour before bed, you have your lights dimmed a little bit, and maybe you're reading, but you're reading on your phone or Kindle. Like you still have a screen, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
But because of that, you notice after a week, even a couple days, but give yourself a good week at least, wow, my sleep's much better.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I do to make my sleep better? Well, maybe I used to be a morning routine exercise guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or a woman. I'm going to add that in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, geez, now what can I do to make my exercise feel better?
Yeah.
Well, I know I need to, focus on protein after I do strength training.
Yeah.
These things, to your point,
They
snowball
they
effect, right?
snowball. Yep.
Stack up, whatever you want to talk. There's so many analogies out
Mm-hmm.
there. So that's where you got to find one place to start.
Sleep is so important. Do you have anything else on this one, or are you good to go there?
I mean, I could go on and on,
Well, of
but I think
course.
for the sake of this conversation, that's where I kind of want to end this. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, sleep is incredibly important.
Yeah.
And as hopefully the listeners have gathered, is Derek and I, even though we both really think sleep is important, our routines are quite different,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think that is a fantastic example as to how
Everybody's different.
everyone's different. Yeah. So, no, that's all I got, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, if you made it all the way to the end of this one, a little bit rambling today, but I think we got our point across. At least I feel like we really got into that first layer of it. And so if you made it all the way to the end here, like and subscribe to us, and we'll see you again next time on the Wellish podcast.
Thank you.